Hello, Sam. How are you, my darling?
Hello, Alasdair. I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm all right, thank you. And we've got a special guest here this week. Do you want to introduce them?
We do. We've got a very special guest now right next to me in real life. It's a returning friend of the pod, Mr. John.
Hello.
Oh, welcome. That was such a suspicious hello. That was like, hello.
It was. All the way from Time Heist.
I thought you were going to say all the way from Thailand. I don't know why.
For new listeners of the pod, Josh has featured once before. It was a Series 8 episode we watched, wasn't it? Time Heist. And we brought you back because you're a big Clara fan.
Big 12 Clara fan.
Big 12 Clara fan.
And important to get that voice on the pod. But I think that does represent all of us here, actually.
I know. I feel like, do you know what? I was saying this recently that, like, there's so much of this era that I've not rewatched that, like, I actually feel really bad when I think about it because we did our 12th Doctor like review episode and we were quite scorning, I think.
Damn right.
And we had quite a lot of people message us not the most pleased with our outlook on 12. And
I know.
I've like rewatching more episodes. I'm like, this is stellar. This is great.
I think a lot of the bad bits really stick in my head, and those bits sort of get glued on to my memory of this era. And every time I rewatch one of these stories, I'm like, no, there's like a lot to this. There's a lot of substance to these that's really enjoyable. And the story's always great. The writing's always great. My gripe's always with like costumes, sets, effects being a bit dodgy. Sometimes there's a rogue story that I'm genuinely like, ugh, but yeah.
The highs were highs. The lows, my God, were low.
My God. My God.
And it's true with so many seasons of Doctor. I mean, like in Series 5, you have like Vincent and the Doctor right next to like the Lodger. You know what I mean? Like it happens in every series of Doctor Who, but I feel like at this point, because maybe it's just like I've said, the point I was in my life, I was like waning a bit anyway, that like the lows really stuck with me. But when I go back and I watch these, my God, and confession for the pod, when I rewatched this episode, and I actually rewatched this episode twice prior to this podcast, but that was the first time I've ever rewatched this episode in its entirety since original air.
Oosh.
Wow.
That was 9 years ago.
Yeah, it's been a while. To be fair, it feels like longer to me. This one feels like, because it was like coming out while I was at uni, that really feels like a full like lifetime ago. That feels like a really different era.
This is the thing. I find it quite easy to be like, whenever I watch anything like Series 5 to maybe like Series 8, I'm like, oh, that's when I was a kid. Like, that's when I was younger. But you're right that anything from Series, I think, like 9 onwards, I'm like, oh, that was another era.
That's adult life. I remember when the Series 9 trailer got released. And I was on a night out with my mates from college, and I had to leave the club and put on my headphones.
That was me
to watch the Series 9 trailer.
That was me with the 60th. Alasdair was at a party and I was at a hen do. And they really, no, sorry, it wasn't even the, oh my God, it wasn't even the trailer. It was the episode titles.
Oh, yes.
That's even funnier.
We were like, we need to make a post.
We scrambled. This was the point we were trying to do like all the news on the Wholala account on Instagram. We were like, it's too much work. It's too much work. And we were just being completely outdone by TARDIS Centrals. We just gave up. And we're like, well, we'll let the professionals do it. And but we scrambled to get those episode titles together on some like branded frames, and very cool way to spend Christmas. Yeah.
Always on the clock, you. Always on the clock.
Always
on
working.
Christmas Day 2022, I made a graphic about Claudia Winkleman and oh God, what's her name? The vitamin lady. Yeah, Tess Daly.
The vitamin lady.
About
the well woman.
The well woman. About how they were going to wear the trailer after Strictly.
The Vitamin Woman. You didn't even mean, I thought you meant like separately Claudia and the Vitamin Woman, but no, you just meant Claudia Winkleman and
Tess Daly. Yeah, I did.
Brilliant.
Well, for anyone who has not gathered by now, we are indeed talking about the first in arguably some of the best 3 episodes of Doctor Who ever. Episode Face the Raven.
Yes, we're finally here, and we're doing the whole 3-part. We're doing Face the Raven, Hellbent, and Heaven Sent. So we're doing banger, banger, banger.
So I haven't rewatched any of these episodes in its entirety since original air. I've seen clips, like I've watched the ending of Clara dying loads of times. But I remember on original air liking Face the Raven, but obviously being devastated at the end. Actively disliking Heaven Sent,
Shocker.
and then really enjoying Hellbent.
Well, my memory of this was that this was the one I felt was quite skippable, that like the death was sad, but the rest of the episode I was like, eh. And then on rewatch, I'm like, no, that's not true. Actually, it's a really good story. I think I've identified what I don't like about it, which is that I think Trap Street is not executed super well.
Right.
And personally, I don't like the character of a shielder. I don't think
She has a lot of haters. It's true.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting idea that there's this character that the Doctor saves in the past and they can't die now. And this is the consequence of being made immortal and living so long that you can't remember your own life. Really interesting. And then what happens if you meet that person again in the future? What kind of person do they become? Very cool. I think then to ask a young actor to try and play that person and who they would become if you couldn't remember your own life and you read about it in books and you were centuries old and you had this kind of like wisdom beyond your apparent youth. It's a really hard character to play, and I personally just don't quite believe it in this performance.
Do you know what I wish and I mean, I know we're not talking about like the girl who died, the one who lived. Do you know what I wish they had done is in Vikingland had a really old lady that like couldn't read and didn't speak much and had broken English. Leah Michelle. Yeah, Leah Michelle. And I wish that she was the one that accidentally became immortal. And then she already is old. So like when she was young, in retrospect, like she was perceived as old. And then she gets old, but she almost sees herself as young because she's going to be here forever. And then I think that an actress of that like age might have a little bit more stature that they could carry through. Because I do agree with you. I think it's a really interesting concept, but I don't know that Maisie Williams was maybe best with her. I don't know.
I want to know what happened to what was he called? Sam Swift, the guy from Rufus Hound from The End of the Woman Who Lived, because he also got given the immortality chip from the Maya.
Oh yeah.
Like, what happened with him? Is he just like chilling on Trap Street as well?
I don't remember this at all.
Well, this is the thing. There's a lot. I think there's a few seasons in Doctor. So obviously, for people who are long-time listeners of Wholala, we watched the entirety of Series 1, 2005, at the beginning of Wholala. And there are certain seasons of Doctor Who I think you need to do that with. And arguably, I think Series 9 is one of them, where you benefit the most from watching it front to back. Mm-hmm. But we're not doing that.
No.
You're not? No.
We'll just go for the end.
But then it'll be a more rewarding time when we go back and we're like, oh yeah, I remember this bit. Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Oh yeah.
So a little context for the episode. The original air date for Face the Raven was the 21st November 2015. It was written by Sarah Dollard and directed by Justin Molotnikov, who directed Crying with Laughter, Shoebox Zoo. Do you remember Shoebox Zoo?
I can't say I do.
No.
Did neither of you watch? Oh my God. So Shoebox Zoo was like a CBBC show about a girl who was maybe like 12 and she had these little figurines of animals and they were like mystical and she kept them in her shoebox, but when she opened it, they came to life.
That's cute.
It was very cute. Yeah. So she did Shoebox Zoo and Blood and Water. Had an overnight viewership of 6.05 million and an IMDb score of 8.5.
Okay, that's good.
I nearly started talking about Sleep No More because we normally write the episode recaps for Wholala. Because if you haven't watched it in a while, go on iPlayer, it, the episode's on there. But I've actually been handed by Josh, friend of the pod, who is right next to me right now, the Doctor Who official guide, everything you need to know about the Whoniverse. Because it has a little episode description for Face the Raven.
It's a book.
What did I say?
He didn't.
It's a book. Okay, fine. It's a book. I'm sorry. It has an episode description for Sleep No More, which I'm not going to read now, but it does have a little episode description for Face the Raven. So if you haven't watched the episode in a while, here is a recap of the story. The Doctor and Clara's old friend Rigsy calls them for help. He has a tattoo on his neck, except he didn't put it there. The tattoo is a number and it's counting down. In fact, the tattoo is a chronolock, and when it reaches 0, Rigsy will die. The Doctor and Clara discover that Rigsy has found a hidden street in London. Here, alien refugees gather, looked after and governed by a Shilder. She put the chronolock on Rigsy after he apparently killed a woman from the street. When time is up, the quantum shade in the form of a raven will come for him and kill him. But nothing is what it seems, and the street is actually a trap for the Doctor. A trap that will cost his best friend her life.
Oh,
no. Oh, don't make me sing.
Don't Don't make me sing.
Don't want me to
Oh
sing.
boy. Oh boy. It's a good story. It's a really convoluted plan on behalf of the Time Lords in order to get a cufflink on him and take his card as key.
Yeah, it's not until you kind of say it like that I forget that this is a trap created by the Time Lords.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Just being a pain.
Literally.
She is being a pain.
She is. Well, look, before we dive into our thoughts, I think we've got a lot. We reached out to you on our X counter. Here is what some of you had to say.
Oh my God, I love this one. I'm going to read this one. At Phoebes_18, Phoebe says, I love this. Been in the Ashilda defense trenches and Clashilda camp since 2015. So you tell me what I think of this episode. Scream.
Oh my God, that's
You're so right,
funny.
Phoebe.
He's so right.
Pity No Stars 12 says, this is my joint favourite episode. Starts slow, but that allows us to slowly understand the Trap Street concept. The last 15 minutes when they realise Clara is going to die is absolute cinema, and one of the best scores Marigold has ever done. Jenna Coleman's performance is unbelievable, and the way Capaldi works through every single stage of grief in such a short time is something only his doctor could do.
Oh my God. T. Selena said, it was the first episode I ever watched. I was very confused, but it's so wildly and obviously fantastic TV that I was hooked forever. The perfect end to Clara's story. Her dying in the same position the Time Lords do. Genius.
Oh my God.
Can you imagine that being your
Wait, what?
first episode?
That's absolutely traumatising.
Unhinged.
Wait, what? Dying in the same position Time Lords do?
Oh my God, because with the arms out, like regenerating.
Oh.
Did you go as in
Well, I had to make the noise because people can't see me, Sam. It's a podcast.
That's true.
You've also got the kind of like rubbing a finger on the edge of a glass type thing, though.
Oh, that was harmonia.
Yeah, we're getting there. Make Me an Offer said, I love Make Me an Offer, by the way. Just like the best trailer maker in
I
the
think we
game.
all like Make Me an Offer.
Oh, I think we all like Make Me an Offer. We love Make Me an Offer here at the pod. Big admirer. Season 9 was leaving me pretty cold. Out of nowhere, Sarah Dollard arrives and delivers an episode that is genuinely tense, atmospheric, and moving. It gives us low-key the most cunty moment for any doctor. You'll find that it's a very small universe when I'm angry with you.
Mm-hmm.
Viewed as a three-parter, Raven/Heaven Sent/Hellbent transforms Series 9 from okay to actual masterpiece.
Thank you for finishing that for me. It won't load.
Well, thank you so much for sending all these thoughts. And we actually had a voice note sent in to us from Matt, which we're going to play here.
Hi boys, thank you for covering one of my favourite stories. You know this Clara Stan would have loads to say about Face the Raven, but I will try and keep it short. My first note is that it reminds me a lot of a take on The Angels Take Manhattan, I think it was you guys, I'm not sure, on how it starts basically just like any other adventure, but this just happens to be the one where it goes wrong. Like, I can totally see another draft of this story where the mayor is just after the TARDIS, and Clara's plan just straightforwardly works. But, of course, it doesn't. And as someone who relates to Clara quite a lot, her death was always going to be a tough watch for me. So Clara spends most of Series 9 kind of spiralling out of control, and watching her question whether she was doing it intentionally was really affecting for me. You know, when she's saying, maybe this is why I took all those stupid risks, kept pushing it. That really got to me, especially in 2015 when my own mental health wasn't exactly in the best place. Hey, how are you? Like Clara, I look up to the Doctor as a role model, so her asking, why shouldn't I be so reckless? Why can't I be like you? It gets to me every time, like it's making me well up a little bit now, like just saying it. But it's also so poetic that Clara being Clara, she has to have agency, even in death. She insists that her death is not to be used as an excuse to take revenge. And he does it anyway, but, you know, it's good that she says it. Thanks again for doing these episodes. Love the podcast, and I'm sure I will have loads more feelings for when you get to Hellbent. See you then.
Ah, thank you, Matt. That was a lovely note. Thanks for sharing that.
That was so lovely. And I completely get what you mean about, like, feeling welled up thinking about it. I think I mentioned earlier that I've watched this episode twice in advance. One of them I was, like, busy doing stuff and kind of half watching. And I didn't really have an emotional attachment. I normally cry at Clara's death. And then when I knew Josh was doing it, we were like, okay, no, we'll watch it again. We'll properly watch it. Bitch, I bawled. We bawled.
We did. I was also eating a brockie
We were eating a brockie, which is a cross between a brownie and a cookie. I always think it should be a brookie then.
Rest in peace, Clara. You would have loved the Marks and Spencer's food hall brookie.
Oh, she would. She would. M&S holding an
Jenna
avocado.
Coleman was in Marks and Spencer's when she found out about Doctor Who. Let's not forget.
She was buying an avocado.
Wow, did not know that.
It's the fact that's like ingrained in my head. It's like one of 6 Doctor Who facts that is stuck in my brain. That she was holding an avocado. I don't know why we all know this, her being interviewed in the BBC, just talking about that bloody avocado. I haven't cried in a few years. Okay,
we're starting there, are
Can we skip to the good part?
Listen, I could have. Like, if I could, I would have. I'm not refusing to. I'd like it to happen. It's just not.
Okay, so the pod's become therapy session. So tell us, why do you think you didn't cry at Clara's death?
If you don't cry at this, what will you cry at?
Amy's death. We haven't done that one yet.
I thought the proms was going to be the moment, and that didn't come through. So who knows?
To be fair, I nearly did, but I didn't.
No, it's a bit too many people around.
I mean, if we're going to talk about the first time that we watched this episode, little 2015 me, I am not joking here. When I watched Face the Raven for the first time, I had a 35-minute nosebleed afterwards because I was so upset.
I believe it.
Clara death, stress-induced nosebleed. And then I ended up posting pictures on my Twitter and Instagram of, I'm not joking, it looks like what's the word I'm looking for? It was like a tribute to Clara. Like I had candles. It was a shrine. I had like all of my Doctor Who magazines that had Clara on the front cover, and I put candles next to it. And I was like, "Rest in peace, Impossible Girl," something along those
We
lines.
all deal with these things in our own way.
We all deal with grief in our own way.
9 years later, I don't think I've still dealt with it.
My sister, I already said this, but when like Amy and Rory died, I turned to her. I mean, I was like, oh, sad. Turned to her on the sofa, and she was like shake sobbing, and it was still quite funny. But anyway,
And he used to play the soundtrack of when they were jumping off the building around her, and she'd be like, "Stop!
You're sick.
turn it off.
Sick
I'm
and
sorry,
twisted."
older brother.
Go on. How did you deal with your grief in this episode, Alistair? Go on. Give us one of your thoughts.
I don't know where to start with thoughts. I feel like we should build to the ending.
Yes.
So let's go back on some other little points that I've thought about on the way. Point 1, stop the count is a 12th Doctor quote, which I think is quite funny. Him just going, stop the count.
Stop the count.
Both of us didn't get the accent right there.
Neither of us did, but we've come to the conclusion on this pod that no one can do. I can only do a fairly decent 12 when he goes, Clara.
Tell you who can do a good impression of the 12th Doctor?
Who?
Peter Capaldi.
He does do a pretty good one, yeah. Does do pretty
He's good at that.
Does a very good John Frobisher as well, if you get him to take it out of parties.
Oh, yeah.
No, I had a little note here about, I mean, like you said, we'll wait till the end till we get to the end, just about 12 in general. I feel like in his character, it's almost like at this point, like by the time, because the episode opens with Clara and him coming off the back of another adventure, and she is like, whoa, that was amazing. And he's like, you almost died. Like, that was mad. And she was like, no, it's fine. It was all right. I saved the life.
He's like, it's not fine. We can't go back to the pretty gardens.
Exactly.
You've ruined it for us, actually.
No, sorry. You ruined my night. And
You've ruined my day entirely.
You've got the grace and decorum. But I feel like he's kind of like almost given up with Clara, not in the respect that he doesn't care about her, because he like cares about her more than ever. But like he's wearing so thin with her that he's like, I don't think there's anything I can do. Like when they bring Rigsy on board and she's like hanging off the back in that like homage to the Day of the Doctor, and she like nearly falls out the TARDIS and she's just giggling and laughing. Like it looks like he's like, he's just like, there's nothing. Like he could have run over to her and grabbed her legs or something, but he's like, there's nothing I can do at this point.
There's way too many times throughout Series 9 where you can see in like Capaldi's performance that he's just terrified that there's no much more, like you said, there's no much more that he can do because their friendship has reached this level of toxicity where he keeps trying to have conversations about duty of care. And she's like, I never asked for this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, she's quite combative. Like she's so sure of herself. There's no kind of telling her what's happening. her desire to kind of die it's quite jarring, isn't it? Actually, at the start of this one, when she's kind of dangling out the door and she's like, "Yahoo!" It's a nice callback to the 50th, though, which I did like.
It is.
And it comes around to that point. I don't know if it's in this episode. I think it might be later, a conversation when they're like in the cloisters of, is it Heaven Sent, the last one? And
Hellbent.
she's kind of like, you do it all the time. Why the hell can't I do it? Like, you do things. Why can't I do it? And it feels like that one was a very like literal copy of something she'd seen the 11th Doctor do. Like, you hung off the edge of the TARDIS. Why can't I do it?
Yeah. I feel like, and I don't know if you get this I think it's a mix of Capaldi's performance reacting to her and Jenna's performance in doing it. I'm almost like scared of Clara in the way, at this point, in the way that like when you see someone like that's so unhinged that you just genuinely don't know what they're going to do next, and it's almost scary. Like, I definitely had that feeling when I was seeing her, I think off the back of the falling out the TARDIS thing, where she's just so giddy off of the excitement of it, and Rigsy's like, she enjoyed that way too much. Like, and also later when they're in Trap Street and the Doctor thinks that he's like sort of hidden me and a shoulder from her, and she's like, oh, it's so cute. He thinks that he doesn't know that I know that, and I know this whole room, and I've been reading this, and it's like, oh, you like know more than the Doctor does at this point. Like, you're hiding stuff from him, which is also a nice build up from the fact that at the end of series 8, she thinks she's hidden her plan from him and he already knows everything she's going to do. But at this point, casually, without even meaning to, she's discovering stuff and hiding stuff and getting around the Doctor without him noticing.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. I really like that moment last season where she tries to blackmail the Doctor into saving Danny, when she thinks she's brought him to a volcano and is destroying all the keys, and she does, except it's all a dream sequence. And then he realizes how serious she is about this, and then he gives in and is like, fine, we'll do something about this.
Yeah.
Even though you think you just betrayed me, and you tried to, even though you were asleep on my floor. And it's nice. It's nice, I think, in this episode then, that from that, when he's kind of looking at Rigsy and thinking, you're dead, I can't do anything for you, Clara kind of gives him a look, which almost like calls back, I think, to that last series, and is like, look, Danny was dead. Like, we've done this before. Like, let's try. Yeah. That's kind of how I read it, which was nice. And then it just almost avoided that conversation of, it's not possible, there's nothing I can do. It's like, right, okay, off we go, let's try. Let's come up with a stupid plan, and we'll see where it leads us.
Like I said, I feel like the story of 12 and Clara, really even more so than just Clara as a whole, because I genuinely do think the way they wrote her in Series 7B is just so different from anything they did after Capaldi got into the scene. I feel like more so than arguably any other companion's arc, this was always going in this direction. This was always going here. And we spoke about before on the pod about how Rose, or you almost get a taste of that with Rose in Doomsday, where Jackie says to her, like, I barely even recognize you. You're starting to look like him. And I feel like Rose definitely would have become a Clara, but she got nipped in the bud too early. So I do like getting to see where this would have ended up.
I think this is the closest that we get to a companion becoming the Doctor.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Like, because you just mentioned Rose, I'm trying to think of others. Because, like, Yaz was there for a long time, but Yaz kind of stayed true to herself. I don't think she ended up, like, becoming the Doctor.
Other than learning to fly the TARDIS, I agree with you.
Oh, yeah. That tiny thing.
I think Yaz was nowhere near. I think even in flying the TARDIS, it was like post-its all over it and checking her notes and like, oh God, what would the Doctor do? And then like, no, what would I do? Whereas Clara, I think, is like mimicking the Doctor's behavior, because when Rigsy comes into the TARDIS and they scan him, there's a moment where they almost like divide responsibilities, and it's like the Doctor is doing one thing and scanning his body, and Clara is doing another thing and scanning his phone, and they're kind of almost on like an equal footing in that moment as well. It's like, okay, well, I'll work out this thing, you work out that thing, and we'll stick the clues together. They're like very much a little double act, I think.
Did you spot that when Clara was looking at the TARDIS console, that all of the stuff on the screen was in Gallifreyan?
And she was still reading it. Yeah. There was...
Like, has she been with the Doctor that long that she's learned Gallifreyan on Duolingo?
Is that one that... Duolingo, you haven't done your Gallifreyan today. It's been 3 days. I don't think these notifications are working. Is that one that doesn't translate because it's like an old dead language?
Old High Gallifreyan doesn't translate, yeah.
Interesting.
I don't really know the distinction, to be honest.
It's not real.
Neither's Elvish, but it's got an
Yeah.
alphabet.
Fair point.
Yeah.
No, I agree, though. I don't think that there's any companion that's come. I think Rose and Clara are the only two companions of Modern who have been on the path to becoming the Doctor. I think other companions don't want that. I don't think that's something they're looking for.
Yeah, but also like the whole thing with, you know, how long does Jenna Coleman want to stay on this show? There was even signs of this toxic nature at the end of series 8, and I think like Last Christmas touches on that, and that's why I think it is. I mean, at the time, I think I wanted series 9 to be a new companion. I think Jenna Coleman staying on for series 9 is one of the best things that's happened to this show, because it's been able to tell this story of Clara becoming the Doctor and the toxicity. I cannot say it. Toxicity. I still don't think I said that right. The toxicity of the dynamic of basically becoming the Doctor.
It's funny because I can't imagine Clara's arc not ending like this. And I don't mean that in the sense that, oh, well, that's what we got, so I can't imagine it being any different. It was clear that she could have ended at the end of series 8. It was clear that she could have ended at the end of the Christmas special. But this feels like the correct ending for a character that was on this trajectory.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it definitely felt like the right way to end it. I love it as just an exploration of, again, like the Doctor companion relationship and how far can you push that extreme. And I think when we talked about it before, Sam, we were like, it's almost like what would have happened if Rose hadn't had to leave kind of arc. Like, what if she'd had another 5 years? What would have happened?
What if she had a tighter grip on that flipping pole?
What if?
She really shouldn't have applied the Vaseline just before. That really wasn't a good idea.
That didn't help. He warned her.
To divert slightly from the Doctor and Clara, because I want to save some of our thoughts when we're talking about the very ending. I quite like. Okay, I know something you're going to say, Alistair. I know a comment you'll say, and I completely agree with it. Just story-wise, I quite like the difference between the like fun, jovial, we're off on an adventure, we're off on a bear hunt of the beginning of this episode compared to when they get to Trap Street. And I kind of forgot about how much of that there was. Like, right, okay, we're going to find this, so let's go to the British Museum. Oh, we can't find it on these maps. Right, we'll look at the TARDIS. Oh, that's a silly thing. Okay, now we're on the streets of London, which is really Cardiff, and we're going to look through all the things, and the Doctor talks to that kid. And like, I think in an episode that becomes this heavy, you need that light, jovial adventure at the beginning. And I like that they have Rigsy in the dynamic for that it's not just the Doctor and Clara, because I think at this point in their relationship, it would be too much like, you know, man on a mission. I think they need someone like Rigsy to kind of bring a bit of lightness to it.
Yeah. And also, it's not just the Doctor who loves a mystery. It's Stephen Bloody Moffat. He loves writing these, I think, as... It's very Sherlocky, like the way of like, oh, one clue leads us to the next. Trap streets, hidden streets in London, right under our noses, where strange things are happening. I love it. It's such a cool concept. Like the whole idea of trap streets and streets that have fallen off the map, and then the Doctor saying like, there are alien streets right under your nose, and you think it's a copyright infringement, was really funny as well. It's a nice build up to it for sure.
Yeah, but then, which is what I was hinting at earlier, I completely understand that, and I agree that I think there's a big visual difference between the exterior street filming and Trap Street.
Massively.
Can I get into some of my gripes?
Go into it.
Okay, so I think one of the things when I think back to series 8, 9 is visually I don't remember it fondly. I don't know if I just mean like sets, costumes. I don't know. There's something about the style of this era that just doesn't please me. And Trap Street is an example of this, I think. So they do this transition from like the streets of Cardiff, which to be fair, don't look like too Cardiff-y, apart from a part where you have Clara like literally walking down the arcades, and it's like that really couldn't be anywhere else.
You've got
apart
St.
from
David's shopping centre in the background.
Yeah, St. David's again. Like, you've got the massive queue of Mermaid Quay in the background. So there's things like that.
But I've never been to Cardiff, so I'm watching it and I'm just like, oh, it's London. Like I have no, you know.
I think if you were from Wales or South Wales, I think you'd be like, okay, that's clearly Cardiff. I think they've done a much better job at it in season 1 now, of doing full VFX to even change the view out the back of a bus to make it look different, and replace street signs and find roads that
100%.
are less well known to make it look much more discreet, bring in London buses and make it look, really natural.
They'll spray a little congestion zone on the floor, get away with it.
Well, you know what? It's interesting you say that, because there was one, I remember from the trailer, there was one specific shot of Rigsy that they'd added a fake sign of London in the background.
Did they?
So,
And it's not in the episode?
No, it is in the episode, but
okay.
credit where credit's due, series 9.
You know what? Credit where it's due. I'm being a hater, and I think
And you're allowed to.
I also totally know what you mean, Alasdair. Like, I do think that the sets are setting. Like,
the sets are setting. There's something about the transition into Trap Street where Trap Street doesn't look rough. It just is clearly a set. Like, suddenly we go from like this lovely natural sunset daylight into studio lighting, and it looks like studio lighting.
100%.
And the set itself kind of looks like a theme park. Like, it looks like a really good theme park.
oh my God, that's such a good description of it.
It feels like when Disney World try and pretend that you're in like Italy. You know what I mean?
Yes.
They've gone to Epcot.
That's kind of it. Like, if you go to like the Ratatouille area in Disneyland Paris, that's kind of Trap Street. And also I think it's the same set they use again at Christmas.
No. Yeah, it's in the Husbands of River Song. So
and
like,
it's very clearly the same place. Like, it's not
100%.
Even, like,
They've just whacked some snow on it, and they've put like some tinsel and like some, let's just plonk Matt Lucas and some robots there. Like, it when you watch it in one, like, because I'm rewatching the whole series, when you watch this
three episodes different,
yeah, when you watch these 3 episodes, also Hellbent, spoilers, shows Trap Street quite a lot.
Yeah, it does.
Then you go into the Husbands of River Song and you're like, why are we back
Why
here?
are we back again?
Oh,
yeah.
It's not. It's a different. Oh, is it?
Well, you told me earlier, because they really got their money's worth even outside of Doctor Who with it.
Yeah, because I think it was the 2016 Rusty Davis adaptation of Midsummer Night Dream.
Right.
That also reused the set. And I feel like there was another thing as well that used it.
They were like, we put all this money into it.
Dare I say, Casualty probably used it at one point as well. Publicum, they all probably used it. Everything at
This is the
Roflock.
thing, like, this is the kind of thing for this series where I'm like, were they really like having to count their pennies and be like, right, we'll make the set,
Probably.
but you have to use it for 3 stories, and we have to sell it to that other production who also want to use it. And also, it looks similar to the set they used in The Snowmen, like where Eleven and Victoria and Clara first meet.
It does.
Yeah, I get that.
It really reminded me as well of the street in, obviously it won't be the same one, but the street in the Shakespeare Code when, the guy throws the piss out the window.
It could be.
It could well,
Could
but you
be.
never know, Sally. You never know. Never know.
Can I rattle through 2 other production things that bother me, and then I'll
go
leave
for
that
it, go
alone.
for it.
Okay, so let me finish hating. Sorry, but these are the things that like take me out of it, which is really pathetic. And I think it's probably why I've actually been able to enjoy season 1 a lot more, because it's the kind of like production value now that you take for granted. But this is like self-funded BBC, not with a massive multi-million-dollar Disney deal. So you get what you get. You get reuse sets. It's fine. The vampire alien guy who kind of runs up to Rigsy in his flashback, I hate the way he looks. I think he looks like Wolverine drawn from memory
my God.
by a child.
He just looks like a knockoff version of that werewolf from Harry Potter on Diagon Alley.
Yeah. Didn't love that. The other bit is when a shielder is like, I sent a message to the Doctor, and she's in the background of that picture, and they zoom in on a phone to like, a shielder's in the background, and it's this awful Photoshop of Maisie Williams dressed like any 14-year-old in 2012 going to the shops, and she's just like menacingly looking over some gates. And I was like, oh, what a weird photo.
It's like, I found you. No, I got your attention.
Yeah.
Oh God, no, you're so right. And then it's like the episode where that picture's first seen. When was it? Was it in the Zygon one, or is it in? I can't remember. But then that where the Doctor's like, Clara's like, oh yeah, and you helped my student with their homework of an imaginary phone call with Winston Churchill, and you cheated, and she's got you a present, and that present is a selfie. And then I look at that picture, and I'm like, that's not a selfie. They used the back camera on that photo. That's not it.
Every so often you'll see one where it's clearly like filmed footage from their like cinematography camera that they just like put into like an iPhone format, and they're like, it's a phone photo, and you're like, no, it's not.
I don't think it is. And then my final complaint, I promise, is the effects when like the perception filter is glitching. Sometimes it looks okay when it's like, oh, it's not police, it's Jadoon, you just can't see it. Oh, it's not a guy who's dying, it's a Cyberman. Fine. There's a couple of effects though, like where it's the big potato-looking man who is in fact a Sontaran, and they just kind of like glitch like Sontaran.png from like the Series 4 archive, and it's
I
just
literally
like,
said that.
It's literally just like a Sontaran with like a Photoshop blue TV static filter over it, and it just kind of is layered on top of the frame. It doesn't even like really blend into the scene.
It's the exact same problem that you get in Let's Kill Hitler, where for some of them they use photoshoot.png, .jpeg, .final, and for other ones they actually use like filmed footage. So like the Ood and the Cyberman and the Jadoon. The Jadoon look so good because they actually are physically there, and that you have the environment lighting and all this stuff. But then it is so clear, and especially for us weird little Doctor Who nerds. I know that photo of General Stahl from the 10th Sontaran.
I know it is
undefeated. Like I know that photo. I know who it is. It also bugged me when they brought him back in the Pandorica Opens, and it was the same actor, but we all know they only have 3 Sontaran actors. But yeah, no, you're completely right. It's just so clear when they are using filmed footage compared to .png.
Another thing I kind of thought as well, I'm like, why would a Cyberman want to claim asylum? Because like, basically my point is, we need like more aliens in Doctor Who that aren't like just villains.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh, we'll mention the Daleks and we'll mention the Cybermen. I'm like, but like,
They wouldn't.
their
need it.
entire core character is that they wouldn't be claiming asylum. Otherwise, they wouldn't be a Dalek. They wouldn't be a Cyberman. They wouldn't be even a Sontaran. Like, obviously, I know we have Strax and we have Vastra as a Silurian, but like, the core understanding of these characters is that they wouldn't be claiming asylum. An Ood makes sense. Jadoon makes sense.
There was going to be an adipose, I think, in the original script.
A baby adipose or an adult adipose?
I don't know that. There was clarification. Well, you, Alasdair, told me something. It was a funny text that you sent me while you were watching the episode, but it rings true here.
They're like, he's like, bloody hell, like a death sentence seems strong. And she's like, do you think a Cyberman feels a merciful death? And I was like, well, no, they don't fear anything. That's the point. Like, they don't have emotion. So your like mean death is irrelevant to them. I don't know. You're so right. Like, I think like the alien they focused on, and I've forgotten the name of it, but you know, this alien that can like has 2 faces and can see into the past and into the future, but only the females, was really interesting. Like, cool new alien. As far as I know, that's a new alien. And
yeah, I think they've only been in it once.
Executed
Well, they've only
quite
been
well.
in it once, but it is based on a real thing. Well, I say a real thing. It was the Janus is a 2-faced god of Roman mythology who kept the gates of heaven, who looks forward and looks back. Hence why January is called January. Because it looks forward and it looks backwards.
Oh, see, this is the kind of this is what we would have got a clarifications and corrections note on if you weren't here. I'd be like, yo,
This is why we needed you on this one.
Sent in by me.
I thought that was really cool though. The ones they did at MB. You're so right. Like, why are the Sontarans here getting refuge? I don't know, but
They should have had a Slitheen. I can imagine a Slitheen makes sense.
Yeah.
also they're all living on quite a small street. I mean, do they go out anywhere else? I guess they're stuck in the street. They don't get to explore anything else. They're just there kind of eating soup and shouting murderer, murderer, murderer.
No, I think they might, because I was like, they're probably not that far from heaven. But then
But
the worms, it's the not the boar worms, not the boar worms. Oh,
Not the memory one.
Not the memory
the
worms.
memory. Stephen Moffat was obsessed with writing about like alien worms.
Oh,
He loves
the less
them.
I think about that, the better.
But like there would be a lot though. It makes sense.
No, exactly. There would be a lot. I feel like that you're completely right. I think that it's a double-edged sword of that we both need more aliens in Doctor Who that aren't villains. And also, I think that there is a lot of aliens, and also I think there are a lot of aliens in Doctor Who they could have used, but they jump to doing the same old, it's a Cyberman, it's a Dalek, it's a Sontaran.
They could have just used the, like, aliens from the Rings of Akaten. No. Like,
I think they did in one of them, didn't they?
Oh, what do I know?
Well, I don't. There was one I didn't recognize, and I was like, "That's probably from the Rings of Akaten."
I saw an Ice Warrior there, which
Again,
understanding of the Ice Warriors.
we
that
don't
kinda
need
makes sense.
these warrior races all living in this nice little street together.
I loved, and I'm interested to get to do it at some point in the End of Time Part 2, which I know Josh is not a fan of, when we go to the alien bar and they have all these aliens that have big proper
Yes.
costumes and prosthetics that we never see again. I like that.
I still think the funniest idea you could do if you bring back the Slitheen is have a high Slitheen in a club, but instead of it having the big black eyes, it has really, really tiny pupils. And it's
That's
clearly
so good.
high. I think would just be really funny. Anyway, maybe not. Maybe that's not very kid friendly. I would laugh.
For an episode that I actually really do enjoy and I really love, I don't mean to like have us bouncing back on things we didn't love, but I do want to quickly touch on this. Letitia Wright is incredibly underused in this episode. Incredibly. Like, I know that this was like pre-Black Panther, and I think this was possibly pre-Cucumber Banana. I think it was like around the same time. And
It's pre-anti-vax.
it's pre-anti-vax, it is. But like, she's so underused in this because she is anti-vax. She is a very good actress, and she just has such a small part. And they're like, oh, we thought boy, but girl. Like, that's about it. Like, I don't know.
It was really funny when they were like, I didn't know as well that they were saying like, oh, it's a shame that she wasn't a female Janice because they can see into the past and into the future. Now, I don't know if that means that only the females have two faces. But when it was like, oh, like your mother dressed you as a boy. And I was thinking, yeah, but her head's out. Like, she didn't do very well.
It's like, you can cut your hair like that if you want, but I can see your second head, my love.
I can see the back of your head, love. There's another face. So I don't know. I thought the same thing. I was kind of like, oh, it's Letitia Wright of Black Panther fame. And this is a really weird minor role for you.
But it's again a case of big actors that were in Doctor Who before they were big, like Daniel Luya, arguably Andrew Garfield, Felicity Jones.
No, the biggest
Oh,
one.
yeah.
I'm sorry, Josh O'Connor being in about 30 seconds
yes, he
of
just-
cold bloody war.
In the opening pre-titles, and then isn't in any of the rest of the episode.
Like Hollywood Josh O'Connor.
There you go.
Mad. I also wanted to think about the character of the Doctor in this one and Peter Capaldi's 12th Doctor generally. I think he's so great in this. You're so like what we said there about him going through like every stage of grief in that moment with Clara, like when they both have to like accept she's going to die, and he's like, you can see that he's like calculating, is there a way out of this? Is there a way out of this?
Oh, when
And
his
in that
eyes are
moment, it's
darting
really, like,
around.
He's probably already made the plan for like, okay, Confession Dial, Time Lords, Hybrid, here's how I'm going to get around this already. Like I've already got my backup plan in motion and I'm not really prepared to say goodbye to you. Half listening to what Clara's got to say, half still like panicking and crying and trying to work out how to stop this. And that was all wonderful. But like little things as well were nice. I feel like the 12th Doctor at this point, he's so like, he's fully cooked. Like he's really just got such a nice flair to him at this point. And there's little moments like he was so soft with Rigsy's baby. Like, you know, he's normally kind of ribbing him a bit and being, oh, local knowledge. And then he sees this baby and he's like, it's wonderful. It's perfect. And it's just the one thing he can't make a joke about is like how lovely a baby is. And I was just like, that is so nice. He's so affectionate. He's so soft when he needs to be.
Yeah.
And that was a nice little moment for me.
No, completely. I feel like this is where both the production and Capaldi had the perfect balance between what they intended when they originally incepted this Doctor and where it went. So obviously when they first created him, he's, you know, got the suit. He's very serious, Clara. I'm a good man. And then Clara. And then at the beginning of series 9, it's very playful. And there's the guitar and the sonic specs and all this kind of stuff. And I feel like at this point when he's got like the velvet cushy suit and he, has the levity, the fun with the baby, and then he does the silly and he does the serious. Like, this is where you get the real, like, golden strike of all of those elements of the character.
I agree. I so agree. Another moment that made me laugh is return to the TARDIS, pick up all my most annoying stuff. And indeed, Clara can just very quickly dig out a clear box of all of his most annoying things. And it's just a big plastic tub of horns and bells.
Everything that makes noise.
All my most annoying stuff. She's already categorized it. She's like, yeah, okay, I know what you mean by that. I'm going to go and get it.
Well, I feel like talking about 12 like this does lead us quite well to the final part of this episode.
Oh, yeah, let's go to let's get there.
Let's go.
I don't know about you. I found it so frustrating on rewatch to see Clara take the shade off him. I'm like, what are you doing? Mm-hmm. But of course, like, how would you know that wasn't, going to fix things? But there was some level to which I was like, look, either he dies or you die. It's almost just like a moment of relief for him because you're so confident that you always get away with it, which I guess is the point, that she's so reckless and so like, you know what? We're getting out of this. Give me that thing and you can stop worrying about it.
Stupid deaths, they're funny because they're true.
Hope next time it's not you. No, I completely agree. We were saying when we were watching it just now that, like, every time you watch this episode, you hope something different will happen and you know what's going to happen. But when she's talking to him, and what I find really interesting, and definitely my take on it, is that Clara manipulates Rigsy into giving it to her. Like, Rigsy doesn't want to, and he's like, the doctor wouldn't want this, I don't want this, like, this isn't what I want, I don't want this. And she uses her words, and in the same way the doctor does, because the doctor manipulates situations to get the outcome that he wants, and she is, copying that behavior, and she, I think, really manipulates Rigsy into getting this because she thinks she's cleverer than this, and she thinks, oh, well, I know what's going to happen, and da-la-la-la.
It's the power dynamic.
Yeah, 100%.
What was, like, the first rewatch for you guys? Because, like, I remember reading the Doctor Who magazine, and it was basically implying that something massive is going to happen at the end of this episode.
Really?
And if you're not going to watch it live, stay off Twitter. I remember being, like, almost the exact wording in the Doctor Who magazine, and I was, like, 99% certain. I was like, Clara's gonna die in this episode. Clara is going to die. And I remember I booked the day off work and I watched about 6 or 7 like important Clara episodes on the lead up to it.
No.
So I watched like The Snowman, Bells St. John, Name of the Doctor.
You were fully fueled.
I absolutely was. I ended up watching all of it, which just made the ending 100 times more devastating and probably what caused the nosebleed.
This is what's really weird for me. I really struggle in this era, and I'm talking sort of series 8 to 11. No, not even 11, because I remember like every time I watched 11. Series 8 to 10, I really struggle like picking out where I was, like episodes of my childhood. I can tell you exactly where I was when I watched The Parting of the Ways. I can tell you exactly where I was when I watched Time of Angels, Flesh and Stone. I really struggled to pin where I was. The only thing I remember is a real visceral reaction to Clara dying, and I remember bawling, like on Original View, but I hadn't really consumed much external media other than the show, so it came as a real surprise to me, because as intended in the episode, I think, it was just the episode that went wrong. I was like, well, she's going to get out of it. She's going to, and you get a real, like, false sense of security when then she's like, can you do anything? And the doctor's like, I can't. But you can, and then it's like dun 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 dun, 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 like the Dundee Dundee music, where you're like, oh, he's gonna fix it, it's gonna be fine, and then he does.
Well, this is the thing. Clara had died so many times by this point in so many different ways, in all these different splinters, that you had to find a way to make it matter more this time and make it feel more final, even though your master plan was to kind of half re-alive her an episode and a half later anyway.
Yeah.
So how do you do that? I guess you have to give it this moment of like permanency. Like, this thing will find you across time and space. There is no way of undoing it. It is permanent as a tattoo on your body. It is stuck with you, and you have changed the terms of the deal. And that's it. Like, no workaround, no cheating it. You've screwed it. And that's what this is.
Yeah, no, completely.
A great realization as well, I think. All of that, like, them just clocking, like, oh, we've really messed this up. And like, there's no one really to be mad at apart from Ashilda.
You can be mad at Ashilda.
Apart from her.
Blame Maisie Williams.
We can be mad at her.
Half the Twitter does.
But like broadly, like this was kind of always going to happen. It was always heading in this direction. The Doctor kind of blames himself, kind of blames Ashilda. Clara's kind of trying to get everyone else to not feel guilty about this and is kind of now clocking like, I think I wanted to die? Question mark?
That was dark.
And,
Maybe I wanted this.
Everyone's sobbing.
If it was good enough for Danny Pink, it's good enough for me.
Oh, when she mentioned Danny at the end, we were like, oh, don't bring him up.
Boo.
But it's relevant. Like, it's like the love of my life, like died and we nearly brought him back and then was a Cyberman and then he brought back a kid he killed in a war crime. It was a whole, and then that kid was in my house in the night.
I know, I'm like, what did you do with that child?
How did you explain any of that to the authorities?
Yeah. Well, same thing Rigsy did with Clara's body. That's what she did. There's can we actually talk a bit about the bits that didn't make it into this episode that are in the script as well? It's quite interesting.
Yes, please do.
So I was bothered in this story about how they kind of just appeared to just leave a baby. And I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. They've just like left the baby there and they're just like, oh, it's fine, the baby's on its back in a crib and it'll be fine. And I was kind of like, that doesn't seem very safe to me. There is a bit more script that explains this. It says, interior, Rigsy's flat, bedroom, day. Jen, 20, is in bed, sleeping the sleep of a new mum who's been awake all night. Rigsy fixes the covers, leaves a note. At the door, Clara smiles at Rigsy's besotted expression. Clara, she know what happened in Bristol? Rigsy, she knows everything about everything. Once Rigsy moves off, we see the note left on the pillow. With Clara and the Doctor, Lucy with Mum. Sleep. So actually, they didn't even leave the baby with Jen. They left the baby with his mum.
They brought the baby to Mum, then he went back and left a note so she wouldn't worry.
Lovely.
Lovely.
I would have loved that bit. Now, I understand for time, it's not the most important thing, and you can kind of ignore it as a problem.
But this is where you want every episode to be the length of Deep Breath.
I do. I was like, give it an hour 15. Go on. You've already filmed it. Just stick it in or put it. I think Doctor Who should start doing iPlayer versions of episodes where they put out the broadcast one if they've only got a 1 hour slot or whatever, or 45-minute slot, and then let me personally have access to the 1 hour version. I'm like, if you've got the footage,
that should be our reward for watching at midnight.
Or just put that in confidential, put that in Unleashed, even if it's got like no VFX in it. Just give me some deleted scenes, put it on the Blu-ray. That's what I want.
Yeah.
Well, they used to back in the day. I remember watching the Series 8 and Series 9 deleted scenes.
Oh, and the bloopers.
I swear that was a thing on the DVD. Because although it's not for this exact episode, it's for, I believe it was for the Zygon 2-parter, but there was the deleted scene where Clara walked into her flat before she was bonnied, and she had a voicemail from her, it's either from her dad or from the doctors, talking about her father having the early stages of dementia or Alzheimer's. It's been years since I've watched this clip, but I've always just been like, God, I wish they kept that in, because it would just add to that Series 9 arc.
Yeah.
Of Clara having less and less of a purpose on Earth, therefore becoming more and more reckless leading into this episode.
I wish they kept that in.
Dark.
Yeah.
It's very dark.
The other part of this story that is cut is what happened to Clara, because I think the joke is that Clara was kind of just left on the ground. But in fact, she was supposed to be returned to her family by Rigsy. So, script says,
did you just carry her home?
Also, what was his explanation?
There's no explanation.
Oh, a bird flew into her.
She got hit by a bird and she died.
By a Cafe Nero at like 9:30 on a Wednesday.
It wasn't a Cafe Nero. Wasn't it a brew dog?
It was a brew
Dog.
dog.
So he pops out by Brewdog to the Evening Punters, a dead person in his arms. And is like, pay no mind to what this...
He's dragging a dead school teacher through
the streets.
What if he's like, oh, I can't carry her, she's too heavy, and he has to get like the Sontaran to help
Rigsy's in prison, by the way, for this. So that's why he's never come back. The doctor forgot to check, I'm sure. The doctor... So we're back in the room with the Shielder. The doctor says, not yet, don't send me yet. He turns urgent. Local knowledge, Rigsy, can I call you Rigsy now? Rigsy nods, emotional. The doctor, you'll take her, won't you? Take care of her. Rigsy nods. You'll tell her family, her school. You'll remember her. He stops short with a horrible thought, rounding on Shielder. You will not retcon him again. Down your rules. She died for him, and he will want to remember that debt until his very last breath. Rigsy, please, no one will hear about the street, I promise. And then they let him do that.
That's sad. Yeah. This is a sad episode.
It's a heartbreaking episode.
Yeah. Very sad.
And then, of course, there's that post-credits scene, which is quite rare for Doctor Who.
I missed it when I did the first rewatch.
Of Rigsy doing his tribute to Clara on the TARDIS, which, like, for those like that remember the line in Flatline, which is like really grim watching it back when 12 says to Rigsy at the end, being like, your artwork saved the universe. Can't wait to see what your next piece of artwork is, or something along those lines. And his next piece of artwork on the show, canonically, is Clara's tribute TARDIS.
Oh, no. You know what they should release?
What?
I would say I'd spend £100 for a TARDIS model, figurine, special edition, whatever, with the Clara painting on it. Well, the Clara TARDIS.
They did one for, it wasn't Pop Funko, but it was like the Titan figure.
Oh, I know, yeah.
Yeah, they did a Clara
the
tribute
one where some of them are really cartoony and then some of them are just like scans of their face. Like Shooty Gatwa's one is just like a scan of his face in full real proportions. Then Matt Smith's is like,
but then they're standing like they've shat themselves.
Thigh gap.
But like that Clara tribute TARDIS, I don't know why, because the location that the TARDIS landed at the start of that episode is not the location the TARDIS was at the end of the episode.
I'm like, did Rigsy fly it to Casualty?
It's very, very bizarre because it is on the Casualty set, to the extent that when the Clara's tribute TARDIS was in the Doctor Who experience, there was a couple of paving slabs that they took from the Casualty set to take to the Doctor Who experience. And the Casualty the Casualty crew were actually quite irritated that they'd taken some of the paving slabs from Casualty with it.
That's so funny.
It's the kind of lore I really like behind the show. Back on the Crow for a moment. I feel like the Crow is quite a fab character themselves. I think the Crow is acting down. And the Crow shots and the Crow effect was excellent. Like, this is what's so annoying about the bad effects in these moments, is like they're capable of doing really, really good ones too. They're just quite hit and miss.
Yeah.
It's like the Crow shot, the Crow like smoke effect looked awesome, has aged so well. And I don't know if you've seen, there's a Twitter account, there's an Instagram account where this guy like feeds crows, and he has like a little like GoPro and it films these crows turning up, and he like puts out little like treats and puzzles for them. And at the start of it, when the crows start turning up, he goes, "The crows are here." And me and my boyfriend, we watched this account, and as soon as we saw it in this episode, we were like, "The crows are here."
I've come off the back of a really weird day at work that involved filming with birds, and I was just watching these live birds be like released and how they film them and stuff for like fictional scripted TV. And I was watching this and I was just like, this must have been such a pain to work with. But this raven really does work it out.
Yeah.
I want to meet the bird at Comic-Con.
Well, you had a funny story about the bird.
Oh yeah. So when the Series 9 props and costumes got delivered to the Doctor Who experience,
Josh worked there, by the way. I feel like we said that on the pod last time, but Josh worked at the experience.
Oh, yes.
Just dropping that context in there. When the Series 9 props and costumes got delivered, the cage that the Raven was in obviously got delivered, but obviously the Raven wouldn't. So the Doctor Who experience management decided to buy like a crow or like a raven. I don't know what they're called. Is it a decoy? When you're going like clay pigeon shooting, they had to go to one of those shops to buy a raven, put it in the cage. And then there's probably hundreds and hundreds of pictures of people being like, "Oh, this damn crow." And it's like, this is just something from a shooting shop. This isn't like...
That's so funny to me.
They could have like commissioned it for like 100 quid. Go on. Yeah. My price on everything. A Clara TARDIS, 100 quid. New Raven, 100 quid.
What the auction would have been like.
I also I feel like I need to give a sincere point, which is that like the dialogue in the final moments is very, very beautiful.
Oh yeah.
And again, like there's cut bits in the script. And before they're going for the hug, I think all that's said is the doctor goes, Clara, and she cuts him off with a hug. And in this script, and maybe this wasn't the final script, but it's the one that's on the BBC Writers' Room website. Clara goes, I know, but I couldn't bear it if you turned into a monster. Please promise me. Her very last wish, he can't say no to her. The doctor, I promise. She throws herself at him. He hugs her close. The doctor, I'm sorry, Clara. I'm so sorry. Clara, shut up. You don't hug. The doctor, I do. I'm a hugger. Oh. And then you hear from the crow again outside. But the line I love that was in it was, everything you're about to say, I already know. And when they talk about the... we've had enough bad timing. I was like, it was almost a little nod to the like, Rose Tyler, if there's one last chance to say it. And it was like, it was a bit like, let's not do that.
No, it's everything about the dialogue in the end of this is just so beautiful. I love all the callbacks to different Clara moments as well, like especially like I'm thinking Dave the Doctor with like, you know, any old idiot can be a hero. We've got enough warriors, be a doctor. Like where she's like, I know what this will do to you. I know what this loss will do to you. And I want you to honor me and what I'm doing by not letting that happen. And even with everything that happened, like she's protecting Ashilda when he's like, she wasn't saving me. I'm long from saving. She was saving you. And she says like, let me have this. Like, and then when she's, you know, going towards the bird, she's like, let me be brave. Let me be brave. The bit that really gets me is that earlier in the episode when someone gets hit by the raven, you hear them scream. But then when Clara gets hit, you see her scream. So you know that it hurts and that she is in pain. But there's no audio for it. You just see her screaming with the soundtrack. It's just harrowing.
Yeah. It either means that it's more effective to show it without the scream, that, you know, it's worse to imagine how it sounded, or that the take was so bad that they couldn't use it. And she just, you know, the script is like the most heartbreaking sound. Everyone who hears it would be devastated. And she just went,
do you think she was like,
and they were like, oh
my God. Can you imagine that she did the end of Wicked? She went,
Make that edit right now. Make that edit now.
Just like a foghorn, like.
Well, off the back of that episode, I do have a couple fun facts for you. The retcon drug that they speak about has often been used in Torchwood, but this is, as far as I'm aware, and again, this might be, you know, the corrections corner. My fun fact was that the retcon drug was a drug used in Torchwood. I think that this might be the first time it's actually used in Doctor Who.
It feels like it is.
Yeah, they make a big deal about it, but there you go. So I'm sure we'll be told if not, please do write in and let us know. One thing that I think is very cute is that in the time of the Doctor, the 11th Doctor asks Handles, his travelling companion at the time, to remind him to redirect the telephone through the main console unit. And this is the first episode that we actually see that had been done.
Oh, yeah.
How long did it take him to do it? Because he didn't, like, it still rang outside the TARDIS in Time Heist.
Bloody ages.
Man was procrastinating.
He was.
Man after my own heart.
Simon Paisley Day, who I've worked with, who's very nice. He plays Rump, and he previously played the steward in The End of the World.
Which one's Rump?
Rump is the werewolf that you hate how he looks.
Oh, no.
And he was the steward. Earth Death in 32 minutes. No. That guy.
I thought he looked better with his real face, if that helps.
I do get that. I think that they just wanted to show he was an alien. And finally, Clara is actually only... So companions have died several times in Doctor Who, but Clara is only the second recurring character to die on screen since the show's revival in 2005, the second being Adric in Earthshock.
Moffat is quite brutal with companion deaths, isn't he?
He really is.
I mean, all three of them died, basically, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's the only on-screen death. And what's actually interesting is that both stories included Cybermen, and both stories show the companion inadvertently becoming an indirect cause to their own death while trying to save someone else.
God damn.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, fun episode.
Devastating.
Heartbreaking episode.
It was very sad. Very sad. Very, very sad.
Horrifying. I actually think reading the script is almost worse. I mean, honestly, these bits I found, the little asides, like the directions for how people should feel, are actually like more devastating.
Harrowing.
As she turns away towards the door, we see the courage fall utterly from her face. She's terrified. Terrified is underlined. Oh, I mean, it's worse after you've seen the episode. It's not better on its own.
When you get the visual, of it, it's really bad.
This is almost like a little novelization, which is just kind of makes it worse.
Oh my God. Well, look, off the back of this, I immediately wanted to watch Heaven Sent. You know what, dear listener? That's exactly what we're doing next episode.
Oh, I can't wait. It's going to be like my 8th watch. It's one of my all-time favorites and one of the best ever pieces of Doctor Who music, The Shepherd's Boy.
Confession for the podcast, I have never watched Heaven Sent since original air.
You'll love it. You'll love it.
9 years ago.
I know, I've been busy. I've had lots of stuff to do.
9 years.
I've got lots else to watch.
I've had there's been a lot of, series of Drag Race in the meantime. Well, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Wholala. If you enjoyed or if you didn't, please let us know. We're on all our social media platforms. We're at HulalaPod everywhere, which is X, Instagram, TikTok, and Threads. You can also email us your Doctor Who fan anecdotes at hulalapod@gmail.com and rewatch old episodes of the podcast on our YouTube channel at HulalaPod.
Yes, and if you enjoyed this episode, we'd really appreciate if you rated us 5 stars if you really, really liked it. And you can also follow wherever you get your podcast to be notified when new episodes come out. You can buy us a coffee on our coffee account, ko-fi coffee/Wholala. And there's another thing, share the podcast with a friend who you think might enjoy it as well.
Thank you. And I want to give a big thank you to Josh for joining us on this episode podcast.
Yeah.
Do you want anyone to find you or no?
They can if they want. I'm on Instagram, I guess, but I'm on private, so
If they want.
might not accept.
The elusive Josh will be watching all of you, but you will not be finding him. But thank you for bringing...
Come on, Canton reference.
You'll be seeing me again, but I won't be seeing you. Well, thank you for joining us. You have brought a lot of Clara love and joy, which I'm very grateful for.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you, dear listener, and we will see you next week when we watch Heaven Sent.
See you then.
See you then. Goodbye.
Bye.